Well, it is officially PGA Championship week on the Big D podcast, which means we're taking out the driver. We're not laying up. We're going for it. Vahalla Country Club in Louisville, Kentucky is the site of golf's second major of the year, and we can't wait for it. Before I bring in Matt and Tom, please subscribe, like, and share the Swanky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Well, it is Happy Mother's Day, so say hi to Mom for everyone. Also, when you're done, hit my podcast, Spotify, and Apple. Check out the Swanky Spectrum Sports YouTube page for anything. Golf, football, baseball, it could be any. So here, we've got two of my favorite golf experts around the world, Matt Vincenzi and Tom Jacobs. So guys, welcome back, and can't wait to talk PGA Championship.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Dylan.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, do you have a PGA Championship moment that sticks out in your memory?
I would say Phil, I guess, winning at, what was he, 50, 51, right? I think that probably doesn't age well since the move to Live, but for me, I don't think you can ever sort of rewrite history based on what's happened. So I think that's still the most amazing thing that's happened in recent years.
For me, it's going to be the 2022 because I was on the JT outright, and you had Mito down the stretch and going the creek there on 18. I thought it was out of it. I think he bogeyed his last few holes on Saturday to make it seem like he was completely out of the tournament, and then Sunday was just fireworks from beginning to end. And with that unfortunate Mito mishap, but that was my favorite in the last handful of years.
Yeah, and it was weird because I think all three of us picked Justin Thomas to win the PGA at Southern Hills that year.
Yeah, it felt like an easy pickup, and as much as I was disappointed not to see Zalatoris get his major, I was obviously happy with the financial implications of JT winning it for us.
Trust me, you won't find a bit bigger Will Zalatoris fan than me. I'm like, when he won in Memphis, I'm like, come on. It didn't matter. I mean, it's weird because Seth went in because Will's ball ended up almost going in the water. Then Seth's ball ended up going in the water.
Yes, true.
I've got one, but it dates back a few years. Tom mentioned a Live golfer. How about Sergio Garcia's crazy recovery on the 16th at Medina, and then he ran like he's Lionel Messi to the green.
Yeah, Sergio is always going to have those special moments, right? And there, I think Matt, as much as anyone is, obviously a big Sergio fan, and things like that live in the memory a long time. But I think Sergio's always remembered for the wrong reasons rather than these kind of moments of brilliance as well. So, it's an interesting one, isn't it, with Sergio? You wish he kind of won a couple more so we could look back at him a little bit more fondly even after the current move.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't even think Sergio's playing this week, right?
I think he's in, right, Matt?
He's not in.
Ah, okay.
I don't believe.
Yeah, I know. A few Live golfers were invited.
I'll double check.
Eamon, Gooch.
I saw odds, but I don't know if it was just outdated odds then that just expected him to get in.
Yeah, he's not in.
Ah, there you go. Shows you how much I thought he was going to win.
A lot of the odds still have everybody up there, but he's not in.
So, obviously going to Valhalla. I mean, there've been memories here. Fourth time PJ's been hosted here. Mark Brooks beat Kenny Perry in a playoff in '96. Tiger beat Bob May in 2000. Then Roy beat Phil when both of them were trying to beat Dawkins in 2014. So, how do you think Valhalla's going to play this week? Because the last few PGAs have been harder. I mean, at Bethpage, Holden Park, Kiowa, Southern Hills, and of course last year at Oak Hill. How do you think this course will play this week?
Matt, do you want to go first on that one?
I think it'll play a little easier than, I think it'll play a little easier than we've seen in the past 5 years or so. I don't think it'll be as easy as it was in 2014. I think it'll play a little tougher than that because it is long. It's gotten longer. The rough should be penal, but I'm not expecting to
I think I lost you there, Matt. But I think I agree with the sentiment that I don't think it's going to be as hard as we've seen in recent years of the PGA, which is kind of mirrored kind of US Open styles in recent years. But I do think you're going to get a little bit of a break here. There is obviously a bit of a distance change. But again, there will be a little bit of sort of firm and fastness to it as well with the change to May as well. So there's definitely stuff to play out. I think it's going to be an easier PGA than we've seen in recent years, Dylan, and it is still going to favour those guys that hit it the furthest.
I think, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be a firm, fast golf course. I mean, we'll mention course comps in a minute because there's one that we'll all agree it's very similar to this. But I want to see how Vahalla plays in May because we've seen how it's done in August. And I mean, when Tiger and Bob May went, in 2018, I mean, 2000, and Roy and Phil won. I think it was in the teens. I think we're looking at something like 12 to 14 under this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be too dissimilar to what we saw from Rory, right? I think it'd be a similar time. I think it's just it, and also like the firm and faster would suggest that people can kind of get in the action with even being shorter off the tee. But I think there's so many well-positioned hazards that I think being longer is still going to be a massive benefit. So I'm definitely looking for those guys that, one, have played PGA as well recently, and two, that are hitting it long and playing Jack Nicklaus courses well in the past as well.
And dealing with 250-yard par threes.
Yeah, sounds about fun.
What would you hit on a 250-yard par three?
I'd just pick up. It's just not worth me hitting it. Maybe driver at the best.
Yeah, Matt, what would you hit?
I'd hit a 3 hybrid, and probably wouldn't get there, but I'd hope to maybe run something up to the front and see if I can.
You bounce.
I'm not good of laying up on par threes, but I think I'd have to do it with the driver as well.
You bouncing like on that long par three at Oakmont. That'd be my strategy. I'm bouncing up to the.
Yep.
So on course comps.
Yeah, exactly.
So course comps for this week at Vahalla. There's one course comp from Vahalla, and I know which one you guys are thinking of.
I want to hear it from you, Dylan. I want to hear which one you like, and then I'll tell you if there's anything different from my end.
Muirfield Village, aka the Memorial, both being Nicklaus courses.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? I think it that's the one that we see regularly. Like that's the main thing about Memorial is just that Muirfield Village that we just see it all the time. So we've got so much to go back to. Whereas people are quite keen to look at previous PGA courses and things like that. We see it once every, few years, right? And it's hard to kind of look at leaderboards. So the one you're obviously going to keep going to is the Muirfield Village one. I think looking at kind of like some of the BMW Championship courses that we've seen in the FedEx Cup in recent years is going to be important as well. I think it's just any long major style golf course is going to be a factor. And, I think that the only thing I'm sort of worried about is we haven't really seen anyone separate themselves. No, Rory's coming into good form now, but he's got the hoodoo of getting over the major. Maybe he does it 10 years later at the same golf course. I don't know. I'm not quite as worried about him as I would be at Augusta, but it's an interesting one. It all depends, I guess, what Scotty Scheffler does, whether he's going to be ready to go straight away.
Yeah, Matt, what are your course comps that you use?
Yeah, I was definitely looking at Muirfield Village because of the Nicholas connection. I think you know, I think that makes pluses and just majors in general. I mean, we've seen over the last handful of years that the players who are winning majors have shown it in a previous major, regardless of the course, regardless of all other factors. If you're playing well in other majors, you tend to play well in the second major of the year. So players who have been performing in majors are the players who I think will perform this year.
And I think the biggest thing about it, right, is that moving the PGA Championship from August to May was just huge. Like doing that for the PGA Championship it's basically brought it back to life. Like people care about it more. The players are more built in, ready for it. It's not like a bolt on at the end of the season. And I think that's the biggest change, Dylan, is like looking at the PGA Championship over the last few years is how people have stepped up and probably how you're less likely to get a shock winner this time around, I think.
Hopefully we don't have a no-name golfer win like we've said many, many times on the PGA Tour this year.
But the thing is, though, if you're looking for players that have already won this season, it's a pretty short list because Scotty Scheffler's kind of hoovered them up. But and I'm not counting Rory McIlroy winning the Zurich Classic either. So it's a short list of players that have actually won the PGA Tour this season. I don't think I'm ready to bet on Jake Knapp if he's even in the field. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Or Nick Dunlap.
Yeah, I mean Nick Dunlap's definitely not going to be on my betting card this week. Spoiler alert.
So, with this tournament being Louisville, Kentucky, there is one notable golfer from Louisville, Justin Thomas. And I mean, JT's won a couple PGAs. One where the guys are playing this weekend, where next year's PGA will be Vahalla, and then of course Southern Hills. I mean, JT's been hit or miss this year, but how do you rate his chance of maybe winning a home PGA?
Yeah, I think, look, it's one of those. I was pretty keen on Justin Thomas for this week at Wells Fargo. And when that didn't come to fruition, the way he's played, I've called it a little bit, Dylan. I mean, I'll let Matt sort of, give his piece now. But for me, I think I've definitely called on JT a little bit based on the live guys, that are coming to the fore at the market and, Rory playing as well as he is now.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it would be kind of a tall task for him to win 3 of the last 7 PGA Championships. I think that would be tough to do, and especially at the home course. We haven't seen players really do all that well in their home course. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of family and friends around. So I'm not to mention he's just not doing. But I don't think it's going to be this one.
Yeah, I mean, Max Homa famously was under a lot of pressure for the U.S. Open last year. I mean, it seems like every time the Open Championships at Royal Liverpool, everybody wants Tommy Fleetwood to win or Roy McIlroy. And when the Open was at what was it? Royal Portrush. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this thing with players playing in their home. I mean, wasn't it Scotty Wright at Southern Hills that had played there growing up and things like that? Like it never really plays out the way you expect it to. Like it's very easy to go, oh well, Rory McIlroy will be a leading favourite because it's Royal Portrush. Rory McIlroy is going to be the leading favourite in every Open for the next 10 years, so it's irrelevant, right? And I think Justin Thomas is always going to get the narrative of PGA Championships anyway because of his dad and the fact he's already won a couple, and you just add in Louisville to the mix, it certainly takes it to another level, but it's not going to swing the golf club for him, and unfortunately he's having a bit of a difficult time doing that.
Yeah.
You talking to somebody? All right. You do anything for something?
Obviously, Scotty Scheffler's the big story in golf. He's won 4 of his last 5 tournaments. He's only won, Bay Hill, the Players, the Masters, Heritage, and had a baby in the last, 8 weeks.
Yeah, he'll be tough to beat for sure. It's getting. I know I'm getting sick of saying this because I've said a couple times that I don't think he's going to win. And every so difficult for him to win the Masters, then followed up with a win at the PGA Championship, especially after not playing in 3.5 weeks, and especially after the stuff in the personal life. It just seems like a tall task. Now, I do think he'll be there. I do think he'll be in the top 5 to 7, and then if no one else wins it.
Yeah, I think me and Matt have spoken about this a couple of times on the podcast leading into this week. Like it's an event where I think he's going to struggle to really separate himself, and not even just for the reasons of having a few weeks off and having the baby. Like it's one of those where there's going to be a bit of a lower score, and the skill set leans in so many other people. So I think that Augusta, he sets himself apart with the course knowledge and the Ted Scott and the wizardry around the greens. I just don't think that's going to play into his hands this week. So even without having the 3.5 weeks off and the baby coming, I still think there is, a definitive difficulty with Scottie Scheffler winning this major. So I don't think it'll take him long. I think he'll come right back at the US Open or the Open and probably contend again. But I do think if he's going to take one off this year, it's going to be this one. So as Matt said, it might be that it's only, 5th to 7th as opposed to winning, but I'm sure he'll be in the mix inside the top 10 and just, on Sunday, probably hasn't got a chance for people to say, oh, he's there and you can't sort of discount him. So, I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when I saw his price at 13 grand, I'm like, I've never seen a 13 grand golf at a major. But I think Scottie Scheffler will win it on a major this year, but it won't be the PGA.
Yeah, completely agree.
But obviously, we haven't seen anybody win the Grand Slam since Tiger in 2000. Do you think we'll see a Grand Slam winner in the next few years? Because, Rory needs the Masters. Jordan Spieth needs the PGA. Do you think anybody's got a prayer at getting the Grand Slam?
I still think Brooks has got a better chance of getting it before either of those guys. I don't see a world in which Spieth is suddenly gonna, unless he just completely changes the way he's playing right now. And I think Rory could be haunted by Augusta for the rest of his life. So, I'd probably, if I was going to take anyone, take Brooks. I think that he would have some difficulty with the Open Championship potentially, but I don't think he's going to, fail too many more times at Augusta. I would almost bet Brooks rather than the other two. I think it's a struggle, especially for Rory at this point.
I'm going to go with a different answer. And it's not Phil winning at Pinehurst. It's going to be, I think Rahm probably gets it before any of them. I could see him winning a PGA for sure. And then the Open, actually, I always thought was the major he was best suited for. So I could see him doing it within the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I think to be honest, if we were to pick a tournament or a major for Rahm to win straight off the bat, I think the Open Championship in terms of just skill set would have been, his best chance, right? Then he very quickly showed how good he is at Augusta, but also the fact that I guess, just lining up Torrey Pines for the US Open was great for him, right? But I think that's a great point. I think one of the things at the moment is Jon Rahm seems to be out of sight, out of mind, and that's potentially dangerous coming into a major, because he just didn't perform as well as he would have expected to at Augusta. But really big week for him, I guess.
I feel like this is a proven week for Jon Rahm because I'm seeing his number. What is he? 16 or plus 1800, depending on what site you use. And Jon Rahm's got to show me something this week. He was not great at Augusta, which of course he basically plays well in his sleep. Now, the course that he should play well because Jon Rahm basically won a Memorial, and then you can almost say won a de facto Memorial because we know what happened in 21. But Jon Rahm's got to show me something this week.
Matt, the only thing I would say on that, sorry, Dylan, Matt, the only thing I would say on Jon Rahm, right, is that we're all kind of disappointed, I think, in terms of how he's, performed on Live, and yet he's not finished outside the top 10. Now, top 10 obviously doesn't mean as much in a 54-man field or whatever it is, but like the fact that 10th is his worst finish and he's had a third, a fourth, another third, a fifth, and we're worried about him, suggests that actually we should be pretty cautious when he's kind of 18-1 for a tournament.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best number we're ever going to see on him in a maybe 18-1. You might see that being floated out there. And the most common question I've gotten in the last 3 days in my DMs is, hey, if Rahm gets to 18-20, should I bet him? And it's a tough one for me to answer because I do believe in him long-term and his talent, but I still do think there's something slightly off with that 20-1 or 18-1. I think it's probably a good value. I won't be doing it, but I can definitely see it.
Yeah, I think it purely, Dylan, in terms of John Rahm, I think it's like you almost have to play him at some point because the number's right. And like if he got to 20-1 tomorrow, then I think you really have to have a discussion about it. I don't think he's going to win. He's not someone I would pick if it was the same price as Brooks or even a Bear or Xander or even maybe, but like it's something that you do have to consider if he starts getting bigger.
I mean, if it's 2022, I mean, if you asked me and said, would you rather have John Rahm or name me a random top golfer right now?
Well, probably Ludwig.
I think I'd take Rahm. I think I'd take Rahm there, especially with Ludwig's back injury.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an injury or whether that's I didn't want to play X amount of weeks in a row. I think he might be okay.
I mean, X amount of weeks in a row. I mean, it's not like there's a signature event the week after the PGA. There is after the U.S. Open, but we'll save that for the next video. Who's the one guy you're definitely not betting at all, no matter how big his price gets?
Well, don't know how big his price gets. I have 0% interest in Patrick Cantlay at the PGA Championship next week.
Oh gosh, what happened to him this weekend? Goodness,
he's not good right
now. I'll tell you, I will not be betting Michael Block. No matter if he's 2,000-1, 3,000-1, or 4,000-1, I'm not going to be betting him.
And he'll be the same.
Or did you mean anyone like under 30-1?
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're just going to reel people we're not going to bet, then I'm probably not going to bet, Andrew Sloboda's probably not going to get on my betting card this week. I'm not quite sure how he manages to get into this field. Tracy Phillips, don't know who that is. But yeah, no, Blocky will not be on my card, whether it's make the cut or anything.
I'll tell you this: Victor Holland's not getting on my betting card either because he couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat.
I mean, I think he probably could hit water if he fell out of the boat, but he'd have to be pushed.
No, but you know what?
What?
Today he shot his first. I want to say his first. His best approach round in like 3 months, and he was first round in the 60s in a while. So if you're looking for a positive for Victor, you might have saw a couple of them today. I won't be betting him either. I also won't be betting Wyndham Clark. I mean, he was the most bet player in the field at the Wells Fargo at 16-1, and he's like plus 20 this week. So I don't know how you could bet him.
I think he's 35-1 now. So obviously DraftKings price already out. I think they've been out for a couple of days. Let me see. Scotty's 13-2, Roy 12, John Rahm 11-4, Standard 10-9, Brooks 10-8, Ludwig 10-5, Colin at 10-2, Cantley at 10 grand. What do you guys think of the 10K golfers?
Yeah, I think if I was to feel the most confident about anyone, I think it has to be Rory McIlroy at 12. Just because of I think the person I'm most interested in probably in that range is Brooks Koepka, but the person that you feel the safest about in terms of floor, I think, is Rory. It's going to be really interesting to see what Brooks does after that win in Singapore and how actually, more importantly, how he didn't live up to expectations at Augusta. I mean, we were pretty bullish on him coming into that, and that was pretty disappointing. But those are the two guys that I think make the most sense. And I mean, look, Xander's playing like an absolute dream right now, but we know the problems with him winning.
Don't remind me, Tom. I bet him in 3 of the last 4 Masters, and my hair is falling out because of Xander.
For me, I think Rory's probably the safe play. Like he's flamed out in plenty of majors. I don't think he's gonna flame out on this one. I think it'll be pretty close, but I think he's probably the safest. And my winner is going to be a little bit beneath this range. I didn't really get to hear exactly who they all were, but I think at the very, very top, Rory is the guy I would play.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Scotty's almost a little too expensive. I mean, they're all 5K golfers, but I feel like if you're paying Scotty Scheffler, like, you really think you could start Scotty Scheffler and let me think. Boy, there's nobody in the low 8s this week. Could you start Scotty Scheffler and Tommy Fleetwood and have a really good team?
No, I will be leaving Scotty Scheffler out this week.
So then below the 10K range, I mean, Cam Smith, Max Homa, Bryson, Wyndham Clark, Joaquin Neiman, JT, Hovland, Will Zalatoris, and Cam Young. Who intrigues you there?
Well, this might be.
You know what? I think we have to.
You go, Matt.
I think we have to. Yeah, I think we have to give our winners before we do this because I can't go through this without.
Without are we giving away the winner here, or are we?
No. We're just talking DFS. We're not doing bets and trivia.
I mean, this guy's going to win you every DraftKings lineup and the tournament. So it's how you want it. I mean, let's bury that lead for now because I think me and Matt might be in a similar situation here. I would say that of the people just below the 10K range, the people I'm really intrigued by for different reasons. So Cam Smith, I think, is someone that I almost every year ignore. For whatever reason, I just forget about how good Cam Smith is at golf. And then when you look at, recent weeks, second in Hong Kong, he has to withdraw from Miami because he was ill, finishes 6th at the Masters, 14th in Adelaide, 2nd in Singapore. Now, we know we're struggling to really handicap what live results mean, but the 2-time winner on there, he was great last year in the majors, importantly. The 4th place finish in the US Open, the 9th at the PGA, played well again at Augusta. So I think Cam Smith, at the price where he is, that he's still expensive enough that people might want to look elsewhere with the doubt of, him, in his preparation. I think Cam Smith will be a really smart DFS player this week.
Yeah, for me, I don't really love him as much for this golf course. I just feel like missing the fairway will be too rough on the outside of the fairways. For me, it's Ludwig. I know he's in the upper end of this range you mentioned, but I still like him. I'm not concerned overly with the knee. I do think he just wanted the week off. After the Masters, I said there were only 2 players in the world who could beat Scotty Scheffler, and he was one of those 2. And I do believe that he can. And I think this is the one major where guys who might feel like they're a little bit too soon to peak. I think he could peak at this major. So he's a guy I think is going to just be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that.
I feel like the 2 guys at the low end, the 9K range, are who I really like this week because I really like Cam Young. He does well on these major courses. We know Cam Young can hit the ball a country mile. I mean, more drivers, the better for Cam Young. And I like Will Zalatoris. And it's funny. Everybody's thinking, what about Will Zalatoris and Wells Fargo? I'm like, you played him a week early because this course could be heaven for Will Zalatoris. Hard, firm, fast, fits Will Zalatoris. Just he hit the ball a long way. We know that Will Zalatoris approach-wise one of the best in the world. If he could putt one good putting round a week, just like he did at Southern Hills, or just like he did in Memphis a couple years ago, Will Zalatoris can and will be in contention.
Are we not worried about the fact that you shot 9 over today?
No, not worried one bit. Not worried one bit.
And the fact that he's potentially in the same health as an 80-year-old man.
hey, Hideki's in the same boat too.
Yeah, but Hideki's won whilst he's been an 80-year-old old man, whereas like Zalatoris is struggling.
Will weighs 115 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. Look, I was pretty keen on Cam Young, and then he played golf today. So I know Matt was probably quite keen on Cam Young as well. We've had discussions about him, but today is a real stickler.
Yeah, Zalatoris shot an 80 today, which for me, I don't think you can shoot an 80 then go and win a major. And it makes me feel like it's a health issue. Cam Young, yeah, he does hit a country mile for sure, but what he does after that usually causes some problems. And the iron game was horrible this week. And so for me, there's a guy who does both those things really, really well down here that I really like, and that's Joaquin Niemann, who he got a lot of hype going to the Masters because of how well he was playing. The truth is he's still playing just as well, but everyone has moved on to the next shiny toy that they want for the PGA, and I still think he's a viable option, and I think this is even a better spot for him than the Masters was. And everyone thinks he played so horrible. He finished 22nd. There was a bunch of great players who missed the cut at the Masters. He finished 22nd. He was just fine. He's great on bent grass greens, and he has that low penetrating ball flight. He's almost just as long as Cam Young is off the tee. He's sneaky long, and I think he can really contend at this place.
Yeah, law of averages suggests that Joaquin Niemann's actually going to have to finish inside the top 10 at a major soon. Feels very much like Max Homa, where all we've seen is kind of middling finishes, and then eventually they do finish in the top 10. That happens, and all of a sudden now there'll be a lot of steam on Max Homa next week because he's had back-to-back top 10 at majors, and you might just want to get ahead of the curve with Joaquin Niemann because the number's pretty good for the way he's playing, and we see so many players break through in the PGA for their first one, and I think he's got a lot to prove, right? Like he's been given, special invites to tournaments and, he's earned them, but like he's got a lot to prove and, wants to find that first major top 10.
And plus you think back a couple of years ago, a guy, Nita Pereira from Chile almost won the darn tournament.
Yeah, a slight concern was Mita Pereira then, found water where I didn't think water existed. So, hopefully Joaquin Niemann's better than that.
Well, John Vanderbilt found the burn at 18.
He did.
Oops. So, any other DFS values stand out to you guys?
So for me, I'm actually quite intrigued by Tyrrell Hatton. He seems to play these longer PGA Championship courses pretty well. He's playing well on Live ever since the move. He was good at the Masters. So he's great at 8-2. I think there's going to be people that are going to look at other options in the high 7s and mid 8s where like they might go somewhere else. And then value-wise, I think they're going to be fairly popular, but I like Jason Day and Benny Ann as well. Benny Ann is playing like a player who, really has something ahead of him and is driving it great, suits this golf course. So I think him and then Jason Day obviously has won a PGA Championship in the past and is coming into form at the right time.
Can Jason Day figure out something with his wardrobe, please? His outfit the other day looked like oh gosh, I don't want to see that again.
It might be like Strokes getting terrible outfits though, because Victor Hovland looked awful in Lindbergh and he was brilliant.
Maybe Victor Hovland should just bring back those funky outfits. Maybe that's why his swing went to crap.
Yeah, I liked the Jason Day outfit, the linen one the other day. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, and also the Melbourne Golf thing, I think, is working better for Charlie Hull right now. If you look at some of her outfits, they're fine. So, maybe they're just taking it out on Jason Day for a couple of weeks, and then they'll dress them a bit smartly. But look, I always think with these things, they're a marketing ploy. They know that people are going to be tweeting about it, and it works perfectly. So, hats off to them. Unless you're Patrick Cantley.
Well, I might be a week too late with this guy, but how about Sepp Straka? I mean, yes, it may be because of how well because of this week, but I mean, he played well in Memphis last year. Really good iron player, and I think in terms of better betting and DFS value, I think Sepp, especially this week, everybody's going to play. Everybody who didn't play Sepp at Wells Fargo will play him this week.
I think the good thing is he's 3 over through 13 as we speak, so it might just put enough people off. Matt will attest to the fact that I spoke about Sepp Straka ahead of last week. Thought he was a pretty good option for the Wells Fargo, and I like it.
Yeah, I'll give you a value play. I kind of like David Puja at 5,600, almost the very, very bottom of the board. I mean, if you really want to make a star-studded board and jam him in there, he hasn't played many rounds in the database, but he's in the top 5 in bent grass putting. And you know what? He's been not very good on LIV, but if you get him outside of LIV, he's been great. He's won a couple of events. He's always in the mix international series, and he's long and straight off the tee, which I think will benefit him here.
And with David Puig as well, he's played one major so far, and that was a tied 39th finish in the 2023 US Open. So, I mean, if he's ever going to just, show up, maybe it's major weeks. He is a player that has really shown himself to be a really good talent. Maybe is the one that's not benefiting. I think there's a lot of players that, have done everything improved in their career and they can go over to LIV, and maybe starting out there is a difficult thing to do. But yeah, he's showing his class elsewhere.
All right, before we give all bets, I am the trivia savant. Everybody tries to stump me, but you all fail miserably. So, fellas, what do you have for me? What do you have in terms of PGA Championship trivia?
Matt, have you got one ready? It feels like it's on the tip of your tongue, or is it me?
A little. It's not necessarily PGA, but a major trivia, and I think it could be relevant.
Let's hear it, Matt.
Okay. Let's see, where is it? I had it up here. So the question is, there's been, I'm still getting it up, so I don't know the exact number, but there's been at least 10 times where Rory McIlroy has been going into a major after a win. What was his best finish, and what year / what tournament was that?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Did Roy
two right answers is a tie.
Oh. Did Roy win going into the 14 PGA?
This is. I had it. So this is sorry. My stat was since he won at Valhalla. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. I think Roy was like second or the. I think Roy was second or third at the 2022 U.S. Open after winning the Canadian Open, and then I think it was the same place at the 23 Open.
Yeah, so in 2018, you're right, he won the Canadian Open, and then he went to the Masters and finished 5th. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the 2022 U.S. Open after the Canadian, and the other one was 2018. He was fifth after a win, and then 2023 Open, he finished T6. So no, so yeah, you're right. It was the 2018. It was the 2022 U.S. Open after the RBC Canadian, in 2014 after a win.
That was the Open at Shinnecock. Oh gosh, yeah. I didn't even remember seeing a lot of Roy. All I saw was Tommy Fleetwood getting a 63 in the final round.
So I've got an interesting one for you.
Yeah, that's right.
So John Daly, and actually, so Alex Smalley has just got into the field as an alternate. So he will ruin this trivia question in the future. But for now, John Daly is the last alternate to win the PGA Championship. But whose spot in the field did he take a crooked stick?
That's weird because Daly was like the 9th alternate that year.
So whose spot did he take?
Did he win a major?
He has won a major, yes.
Is it recent or less recent?
Less recent.
Oh gosh. Are you going to tell me this guy took like Tom Watson or Jack Nicklaus's spot?
No, it wasn't either of those. I can give you 3 possible answers. So, was it A, Nick Price, B, Fuzzy Zeller, or C, Ian Baker Finch?
I would have to think it'd be Ian Baker Finch because that was the year he won the Open.
Hate to do it to you, Dylan, but I finally have stumped you at the trivia. He took Nick Price's spot in the PGA Championship.
Wow. I didn't think that because Price won 2 PGAs in the years after, 92 and 94.
That is correct. And I had to Wikipedia those answers, so there you go.
All right, it's our favorite subject now, bets. Who are your PGA Championship bets?
So, I'm going to kick us off, and this is going to be I'm going way too heavy on this guy, like Brooks Koepka at Augusta. But for a few weeks now, me and Matt have been talking about the PGA Championship coming up. I spoke to Andy Lack on his podcast. All the consensus is around this one guy for us at the moment, and it's Bryson DeChambeau. The guy is playing good golf. He has surprisingly played pretty well in major championship. 3 top 8 in majors since making the move to live. Still only 30 years old. He's obviously a US Open winner. He's won a tough, long driving golf course. He's got 2 tie 4 finishes in this tournament, including last year. The guy is just a great golf course for him. I think it's the perfect golf course for him. He's won, obviously, famously at Muirfield Village in 2018. You know, that was potentially an old version of Bryson DeChambeau. It wasn't the Hulk smash version of him, but I do think it's important to note as well that he did do that. He played one of that BMW Championship that I referenced earlier. He lost to Patrick Cantlay. And I just think it's time for him to win another major. He's been pretty bullish about it this season. He was impressive at the Masters. His best effort there. So I love Bryson DeChambeau and everything that he's shown in the last couple of seasons. This year, obviously finishing 6th at Augusta, and now it gets even easier for him. So just like when Matt said about this being more suitable for Joaquin Niemann, I think it's certainly more suitable for Bryson DeChambeau, and I think he kicks things off for Live this season.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Looking back through my DraftKings account here, I played this bet on September in the PGA Championship, and so the number I got is really, really good, and I'm happy with that. But to be honest with you, I'd still bet whatever he is now, 25, 30 to 1. I'm still fine with it because I know my 55 to 1 isn't helping anyone out there. I would still bet the 25. And I, for all the reasons, really good on bent grass greens. He's a really good putter on bent grass greens. And there's just, the long golf course thing it obviously suits him. And I think it's just such a better situation where he's such an advantage when he's hitting out of the rough. Where at Augusta, you don't really get that. He, on bent grass, 9 of his 10 wins have come on bent grass. And he also has a second place finish at Medina, which is on bent grass. So, and he showed us in the Masters, like these big events, he's ready to go. I think he's in good form. I think he wins by 3.
Yeah. Look, Matt's been early on Bryson DeChambeau with that ticket before in 2023, and I just pick up the pieces a few months later and just agree with him. But the benefit that we've got is that we've now seen him finish tied at the Masters since. So couldn't feel more confident in Bryson DeChambeau. Play even the tournaments where he's not playing very well on live, he's showing good signs with a couple of low rounds. I think it was in Australia, he was really slow out the gates and then finished really strongly. And Singapore, I didn't really expect him to do very well there, so not too fussed about that. So he's my number one pick this week is Bryson DeChambeau, and obviously Matt agrees. So that's always a strong suit to them.
And plus, I think of cerebral players. There's not a more cerebral player, Bryson, because remember that whole the Bay Hill where he would like hit the ball intentionally over the water and it ended up in the fairway. You might see Bryson go bonkers off these teams. I mean, he might hit drives 390.
Yeah, and I think like people are saying you're going to be forced into some situations here with clubs less than driver off the tee, and it's going to be positional and things. But I think Bryson's fine with that. I think everyone's he's scaled back the size at the moment. He's swinging pretty freely, and I guess he's probably got some 4D printed irons or something this week as well. So it's all pretty exciting for Bryson DeChambeau right now. Who's your pick, Dylan?
I mean, it's hard not to agree with Bryson. I mean, if you got him late, if you got him earlier, the better. Especially, but to get off the Bryson train, how about Cam Young? I think he's 40 or 45 to 1. Will Zalatoris, or what's left of Will Zalatoris, and then Sepp Straka, I think he's 90 to 1.
Nice. Yeah, I think importantly there you said what's left of Will Zalatoris, and I think that's what you should be worried about. I've spoken to Will on the podcast, and the guy is top 10 for me in terms of favorite players on the PGA Tour. Really want to see him succeed, but there is genuinely a health concern there, and he might be. I think it's one of those injuries where he could just be fine one week and not the next, and it might just be that he's kind of checked out pretty early at the Wells Fargo. But I would be concerned about 4 days of brutal major golf in his condition. But if we wanted a bit more of a long shot, then I know obviously you're sort of trying to get away from us all just picking Bryson DeChambeau here. Then I think certainly Benny Ann is playing himself into that picking contention. I think he's been brilliant, and this is the form that he's in.
And this is a course that favors Benny Ann. When you take out the drive, when you take the drive.
Yeah, 100%.
You have any values, Matt? I know you've got a live golf. I know you've got more live golfers in there because you have more live golfers than Rory has been waiting for major wins.
I take offense to that, but I do have a PGA Tour golfer. My 2 picks. I mean, and I mentioned it earlier on Ludwig. The numbers kind of sucks now. I did bet a little while ago at 25 to 1. For Ludwig, but the 18 I like too, because I just think that, like I said, the day after the Masters happened, I said the 2 guys who can beat Scotty are Bryson and Ludwig. That's who has the ceiling to do it. Doesn't mean they're going to, but that's who I think if they play their best and Scotty brings his B minus game, they can do that. So those are the 2 guys I'm going to be going all in on. I'll be starting my lineups for those 2. That's just kind of where I'm at. I like Neiman too. I think he'll drift to maybe 40, 45 to 1 with a little hype off him. I think he has a chance to do it too. There's a live golfer.
I knew it. So, who's going to win the Wanamaker this weekend? Are we all going to be agreeing on one golfer again?
Yeah, it's Bryson. Like I'm not going to try and be clever here. Like Bryson DeChambeau is. By the time we catch up for the US Open, we're going to be talking about the fact that we were also right again on Bryson DeChambeau. I'd love for it to be somebody else, but it's not going to be.
Yeah, Bryson is for me. I can't wait to sweat Bryson all weekend. I wanted to get one of those New Era Crusher hats, but I didn't get a chance to do it. I've been losing too many bets lately, but if I could somehow speed one over there, but if Benny could have done it for me this week.
3 for 3. I said at the Masters, Bryson DeChambeau's going to win the PGA. This is a course that fits him. Won the Memorial, and you know what? He needs a major before that 5-year major membership runs out.
It's a good job he's going to get it this week then.
Well, that's why Brooks won last year's PGA, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for hopping on, fellas. Glad we were able to fit this in now. Hopefully, Bryson brings out the driver. Otherwise, I have no idea what's going to happen next week. So, happy Mother's Day to you guys. I hope you said something nice to your wives and or moms.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated, Dylan. And happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. And thank you for having me on for another major preview.
Let's go, Bryce.